Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with yours truly, Dr. India White. I'm thrilled to be here with you this holiday season. I know many of you in school systems, you are wrapping up these 9 weeks, getting ready for the upcoming new year. My hat goes off to you guys. Kudos. Keep up the great work. I know some of you who are celebrating the holidays, whether it's Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah. I just wish you all happiness and success as you're preparing for the new year. With that said, I do want to go into some announcements with you guys. First things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White will be featured on the X Factor EDU network hosted by Dr. Matthew Joseph, and it can be found on Spotify. I also want to remind you that it will also be on social media outlets. And so some of my social media outlets, you have Facebook is Miss India White, LinkedIn is The India White, Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach, Instagram is Indy238, YouTube is India White 123, and TikTok is Dr. India White. And I also have an account on Blue Sky, which I just joined. And I think if you just Google my name, you'll find me, Dr. India White. I also wanted to encourage you to check out the website. There are so many different things going on. It's super exciting. I have some discounts for you guys. I know we all just, went through the holidays, Thanksgiving, and some people are looking for deals. Of course, there's always something on my website. You can get a grit workbook for a discount, equity book for discounts, things like that. The website is www.india-white.com. I do write blogs. I try to keep you guys abreast as to just new things taking place. So I appreciate your support on that. And I also want to just remind you of a couple of events and things that I have coming up. I do have, first off, the Grit Mini Workshop. Please make sure you're checking that out on the Grassroots Workshops website. It's still there. Thanks to Robert and Tribe for that. I want to announce also events for this month. We've got the Get Gritty for the New Year Women's Empowerment Conference. This conference is designed for women all over the globe who find that they want to share of their success of how they've been gritty, or to join a platform of women that have exuded grit and find out exactly how they can do that in their own business, or, in their journey as parents, or in their journey as, they're going back to school, or whatever it is that they are endeavoring to do in life. We invite all women to be a part of this platform, Get Gritty for the New Year Women's Empowerment Conference. Thank you so much, Coach Jenny and Tribe, for this opportunity to partner with this amazing group of ladies. I know in our group, there's over 6,000 ladies already in that group. So if you're wanting more information, please do not hesitate to reach out. You have my information floating down at the bottom, india.white.123@gmail.com. Again, this conference will be taking place. It is a virtual conference this time. We will be planning for other options in the future. But it will be on December 19th, 4 p.m. Mountain Time. 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So please make sure you do the adjusting and finding out what time you will need to tune in and to enjoy this event. We are finalizing speakers and things like that. So if you are interested in being a part of the Get Gritty for the New Year Women's Conference, please reach out to me and our team. We will get back with you. With that said, I do also want to remind you guys of the Grit Academy and tutoring opportunities that you can take advantage of if you're needing some support for your little ones for online tutoring and learning options. Okay. So with that said, I'm super excited about this podcast episode, as we are always talking about either grit or equitable practices and things like that. How can we connect? And so I figured out, I said, this time around, I want to talk with you guys, yes, about grit, but I want to talk with you about bouncing back with grit. So I was thinking of, it has been such a gritty year. We've done so much together, but we also have suffered some losses. We've had some catastrophes. We've gone through emotional hurdles. We've had so many different things take place. And I think it's only fair that we talk about the other side. of grit and how you can bounce back, how you can be resilient. I did find some articles. I found some shorts, YouTube shorts that I want to share with you guys. Um, if you have time, just as to what people are saying. But before we get into that, I do want to, of course, share my heart with you. And I think this is so imperative for us all to have this trait, because it's not always about being, on the mountaintop. I mean, we know life is about mountains and valleys, so it doesn't make sense, right? If you're always coasting and everything's always up and it's always woo, like that's false, right? We know that. You got to keep it real, and so it's imperative that we understand that when we are in those low points, that we can bounce back, but we need a method for bouncing back. Some people, they naturally have that resilience; they know how to do it, but others of us, we kind of need some support. We need to see how it's been done. We need to hear from others. And so I'm honored to share this platform to talk about how you can bounce back with grit. So from my heart, I'm going to talk with you about how to bounce back with grit. I think the first thing we need to do is definitely take a step back and evaluate. This is so imperative because it's all about making sure that we're resetting with grit, with that growth mindset piece, especially because I find that if you're going through like hard times and things like that, if you do not take a step back and evaluate, it's like, say you just went through like some type of train wreck or some type of situation that was just devastating. You have to sometimes evaluate what you just went through to see how you can then take steps forward, right? It doesn't make sense if you just, for instance, before rebuilding a house after a natural disaster, you're not going to just say, oh my gosh, my house was built or was hit by a hurricane or by this, or, and I'm just going to the next day just start rebuilding. No, you have to take a step back. You need to see what was destroyed. Was the foundation damaged? Was there wall damage? Like what took place, right? And then after that, you put together a plan to build. And just like that, we all go through storms and hardships in life, even the most optimistic of us. We all have different things that take place, setbacks, misunderstandings, things that we just didn't see coming. And we have to be able to take a step back and reevaluate. I want to encourage you too, that if you are going through a time like that, to not judge yourself as being a failure. Do not judge yourself as because maybe the business didn't work or maybe that situation lapsed or something took place. Don't be so hard on yourself and have such a negative, like a voice of negativity that you're just like, oh, and you're just like wallowing in, almost in like a victimization type of like, woe is me. I need you to understand that you as a person, you are invaluable. Like you're priceless, no matter who you are. You might not be everybody might not be a fan of you, but you are priceless. And so I want to share that love with you. And I want you to also realize that you have to learn how to separate yourself from the catastrophe. People that built their homes, in hurricane disaster areas, I'm sure they didn't think that something, would come and sweep their home away or whatever. And, my condolences to all of us that are dealing with that, right? But I will say this. Just because a person's home got destroyed or damaged does not mean that they are damaged or that they are of no value or they've lost value. That's not true. And we know that's not true, right? And so it's so interesting to look at that and to take that in the natural and be like, oh, of course. I mean, just because Sally's house got damaged in a hurricane or got flooding doesn't mean that Sally herself lost value. Does that make sense? And so sometimes we go through things and it's like we think it like takes value from us, but it actually doesn't. It reminds me of like pearls and diamonds and all these different jewels that we love. But the thing about those jewels is they've gone through a purification process. They've gone through things. They've been eroded, things eroded off of them so that they can shine better. They've been buried deep. They've been forgotten. They've been through the rough. And so, in your time where you might be feeling dark, might feel cold around you, that is the time that you're getting ready to shine bright because that moment of isolation is a way that you're being molded, so that you can be of better service to others. So I just want to encourage you with that. Okay. Now I also want to talk about the next thing. Number 2, give yourself permission to reset. Sometimes, like, we feel like something happened and we're like, oh no. And then we stay there without a plan to reset. And I want to encourage you and say, make a plan for yourself. Give yourself permission to reset. Sometimes we are so hard on ourselves. It just makes no sense. We beat ourselves up. Those negative voices, I could have done that better. Oh, you're so stupid. You're so just, I can't believe you. Like, why are we doing that to ourselves? We've got to give ourselves permission to reset and know that life will move forward because we're still here. Whatever you do, move forward. So many people, so many greats have spoken about how we need to move forward no matter what. Don't just unplug because of a moment of uncertainty or a moment of disappointment. Give yourself permission to reset. Number 3, establish goals. After you're like, okay, I'm going to reset, then you need to look at this and say, what is my vision? How can I reset? What are my goals? What do I really want to accomplish in life? Maybe you ended a chapter of your life. You ended a season. What's the next season? What's the next thing? It's okay. It's okay to evolve. God bless one of my late mentors who, Dr. Grafton, he actually, I mean, it's so interesting. He didn't tell me how great he was. So humble, so humble. This man, he served in the military. I believe he was in the Air Force. And then after that, he went to school, got his doctorate, and served. And I think he did sales or insurance or something. But then he hung that hat up, and then he started to do like just giving back, paying it forward as a counselor. And that's how I met him. He lived to be like 91 years old. But the thing I loved about Dr. Grafton, gosh, I miss that man, was that it's like he gave himself permission to reset in life. He finished a career. He hung that hat up. Nothing wrong with him. Nothing wrong with the career. Like nothing wrong with the Air Force and the military branch he was a part of. God bless all you wonderful military rock stars out there. But he gave himself permission to say, okay, I mastered it. I did great. What's next for me? And he did that. And he did it very smoothly. And he impacted so many people in your life. So, I want you to think about how can you give yourself permission to reset after a setback or disappointment, after a loss, especially after a loss for all of y'all that are dealing with loss in this season. It's very dark, I know. And one thing I do say about grief is that's not something you just get over. People will say, oh, just get over it. Oh, and it's like, you got to understand, people impact each other in so many different ways. I can recall so many times, like I've lost loved ones, right? But I can recall either hearing their voice or seeing a vision of them or having a dream of them. And like, it's just like, when they're a beautiful soul, they're a beautiful person. You don't just get over them. So for some of you that you've been carrying grief for a year, a couple months, couple years, it's okay to say, I've got to take this one step at a time. I've got to give myself permission to reset in life while also carrying a beautiful memory of them with me. That's okay. And I think that definitely, we need to continue to seek out professional help in that area. No, I'm not licensed in that area, so I won't act like I am, but I'm just giving you advice. That has helped me when I've dealt with those different things that I think will help you guys too. Also, make sure that you're establishing goals. When you are looking at those goals, what, like I said, what do you want to become? What do you want to do? And then plan for that success. Like, how realistic can it be that I start a business, that I write this book? I've had goals of like, I love to write. I just do. I've had goals of writing and I'm like, oh, I'm going to get this done by this. And then life happens, right? And it's like, well, maybe that's not as realistic as I thought it could be. So I have to reset, right? And so we have to give ourselves that permission to reset, establish realistic goals, right? And then plan for that success. So it's one thing to say, and I think that's the wheels. That's what makes the wheels turn of grit, is once you have that time management and you've actually planned out what you need to do. That's what makes it work, right? And that's why I have like a grit calendar that's going to help with that. And then, of course, finding accountability partners to keep you focused and responsible so that you're not twiddling your thumbs or you're not being distracted with like 5 or 6 other projects or things that you would like to do. Stay focused, so that you're not the jack of all trades and the master of none. So interesting. I used to hear that growing up. Don't be the jack of all trades, be the master of one. And I'm like, why not be the jack of all trades? But now I get it. And I think that those that are either in business or just experts in their field, you get it as well, right? You don't want to be stretched so thin, making all these goals in all these different areas. You're jack of all trades, and nobody can trace your name for one specific thing. Like you're in every, like it's not going to benefit you as well as if you had one specific thing that you stick to. And this is why I'm always talking to you about how to do that, and be gritty. And so the next thing is to, like I said, find accountability partners and to, be honest with them, especially when you hate taking that phone call or, you don't want to answer that email. Just be honest so that they know how they can best support you. And so with that said, as we are talking about grit, great resilience and time, I do want to share with you some really cool articles that I found for us so that we can talk about grit. And so this first one, I want to just talk about developing grit, and then we'll talk about growing with grit. Okay. 5 tips on developing grit for success. Okay. And this is by Marian Evans. Give them credit. And that's Elevate BC LTT. Okay. And then it says, when you hear the word grit, many of us think of perseverance, resilience, and determination in the face of hardship. I have found that this quality often separates those who thrive from those who merely survive, particularly in the business world. Okay. In fact, if you have suffered from adversity, adversity, key word here, right? Whether personal or professional, that can be an advantage because the grit you develop can be one of your greatest assets, right? And this is why I've had people talk about the importance of grit when you're dealing with students, because what's happening is, especially if you have like a gifted learner or an advanced learner and that student, maybe they've not gone through anything per se. They've had everything given to them. They've never had to struggle. They'll find it more difficult to adapt in society when they're thrown out here, to all of the people that are from all walks of life. Some have mercy, some don't. And it's hard for some of those kids that have been sheltered or protected or been extremely supported. It's hard for them to kind of know how to move forward and bounce back. And we see that some students and young adults are, going to live back with their parents at age 26, 28, 30, 34. And they, yes, it's economy. But some of that also could be factors of them not understanding how to plan for a bounce back. Maybe they assumed, that, I'll never have to go through that or whatever. And then now they're starting to deal with the reality that was a little bit different. And sometimes that happens. We get shaken, right, by life and by reality. But we still have to have a plan as to how we can bounce back. And I hope that many people that are in that boat can develop enough grit and resolve to get those pieces figured out, right? And so with that said, let's keep going back into the article because I want to talk more about this. So of the leaders I have worked with for many years in my own journey in business, I have identified 5 tips for developing and nurturing grit. I love it. Let's talk about it. Okay, so it says, embrace the power of purpose. First things first. Purpose is a vital foundation of grit. Yes, Having a clear purpose can fuel motivation and provide a clear path to follow, even when times get rough or tough. In business, purpose is often rooted in why you started your journey in the first place. Or for those who have overcome adversity, this purpose may be tied to personal experiences, right? A desire to create something better, or to prove to themselves and others what they are capable of achieving. Now, this line right here is everything. And I think this is a deal maker or deal breaker for grit. What is it that people are aspiring to do in their life? So teachers, leaders, if you're dealing with someone and maybe they're not as gritty as you would like for them to be, ask them these questions. Is there some area of your life that you desire to make better? Or do you have something to prove to someone? That reminds me of, my humble beginnings as a high school student and having my calculus teacher tell me that, what did he say? He said I was stupid. I would never understand calculus and I would never major in math. And then told me to go do something that me and my people can do, right? And I know that's an ugly story, but I have to tell it because it almost did open up a can of grit for me. Can of grit, get it? So so my thing is this. I had to prove to myself. Now, some people have to prove it to others, right? Like they have to prove it to the person that said it, to kind of get back, like some kind of like sweet vengeance. And then I didn't care about that as much as I cared about proving to myself that I wasn't stupid in math. The guy said I was stupid, and I needed to make sure that he didn't have any clout on what he was saying. So to me, I was like, well, let me retake it. I did get a B in his class. And then I went to the University of Florida. I retook it at University of Florida and aced it. Florida just is a wonderful university. And but I think that for me personally, I had to prove to India, like, are you stupid? Like, I'm sorry. Like, do you not know how to add and subtract? So I had to prove it to me. And sometimes we have to do that for our students. Have them prove it to themselves. Like, you can do this. Like, you've got what it takes. And I think sometimes convincing them of that is what's going to really cultivate that grit, more so than just telling them to do something or telling them to try harder or work harder. But it's bigger than that. It's actually giving them a reason why, they want to stay in this thing, why they want to stick it out, have that stick-to-itiveness, as I've heard so many times in my trainings. I love you guys. You guys are great. Okay, so with that said, let's get back to this article. Love that word, cultivate. To cultivate purpose-driven grit. Oh, I like that. Write down your reasons for pursuing your goals and revisit them regularly. You need to do this. You should have some type of a grit list, some kind of gritty to-do list. Anyway, and then it says, knowing the why behind your actions can help you power through. Ooh, I like that. Power through. Anyway, I like that. Power through setbacks and encourage you to focus on long-term objectives. Power through. I think I'm going to start using that. Anyway, so let's keep going. Build discipline through consistency. Can we say consistency? So discipline is another foundational aspect of grit. Yes, it is. Because the opposite of grit is, it said laziness and retardation is the opposite of grit. So it says developing discipline isn't about relying on bursts of motivation. Excellent. Right? You got to be balanced with this thing. Right? You can't be all high, happy-go-lucky all the time. That's not realistic. You will crash and burn eventually. We all will. Right? Because life is about the ups and downs. It says it's about staying committed to consistent actions even when the going gets tough. Discipline requires you to stick to small daily habits that edge you closer to your goals, regardless of how you feel in the moment or how quickly results come. So they're talking here, the next one, Learning to view failure as a learning tool. Yes, we have to stop being so hard on ourselves. It's inevitable, right? It says failure is inevitable in business and in life. The key to developing grit is learning to see failure not as a sign of inadequacy, but as a valuable learning experience. I want to say something here too. If you're finding yourself in a situation where you're like, I feel like a failure, I feel like, this part has ended in my life and I'm done or whatever, like, I want to encourage you to get busy. Just get busy, write it down or whatever. Get busy in something else, something bigger than you. It could be a hobby. It could be, thinking of some of my friends that work out. It could be working out. It could be writing books. It could be a mom's group, a dad's group, whatever. 40 and under group. Like, I don't know. Like, get busy in something else so that you get your attention off of where you felt you failed. I think, we spend so much time looking within, looking at ourselves, that it's almost borderline narcissistic at times, right? Like, you got to fix the focus. It's not about us. It's about our purpose and what we are here to do to serve others. So if you're finding yourself in a rut, you're like, I think it's time for you to look outside of yourself and outside of that last disappointment and figure out how you can get plugged into something bigger than yourself, right? Into that next thing so that you can remain gritty. Because if you're looking at your life, you're like, I don't have any hobbies. I don't have anything to do. I'm not working on anything. You have the power to change all that. You can be as busy as you want. You want to write 10 books next year? Do it. You want to open up 18 businesses? Good luck. Do it. Like, what do you want to do with your life? It's your life. And I've heard of people that they've been waiting for permission to do things. Like, they're waiting on people to do certain things, and then they're waiting like 20 years later and they're still waiting. No, I don't think that's why we're here, to wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. Like, sometimes you just got to do it. You got to take a risk and do it. Right. So let's keep it moving. Let's get back to this article that I was reading for us, so we could talk about 5 tips on developing grit for success. After a setback, rather than giving up, analyze what went wrong and consider what you can do differently next time. Okay. This ability to bounce back, right, from failure is what psychologists call resilience. Like, my favorite word. Oh my gosh. Well, grit. I think grit's one of my favorite words. One of my top 5 for sure. Another core component of grit. I get so excited talking about this. I don't know why. Okay. It says, when facing a failure, ask yourself reflective questions. Yes. What did I learn? Good. How can I use this experience to make me stronger? Embrace a growth mindset, right? In my experience, seeing our abilities and intelligence as things that can be developed can help turn failures into fuel. I like it. Turn your failures into fuel. Turn your failures into fuel. Turn your failures into fuel. Go Gators. All right. So here it says, use your failures as springboards. Oh my gosh. I love this article, guys. Whoever, oh my gosh, I need to contact whoever wrote this. It says, use your failures as springboards for growth and innovation. The shift in perspective. Oh my gosh, this is so powerful. Can be transformative, helping you to see obstacles not as barriers, but opportunities for growth. This whole paragraph is just everything. I mean, look at the nuggets they're throwing in here. Oh my gosh, turning failures into fuel. Springboards for growth, a shift in perspective, obstacles as opportunities. Guys, this is just rocking out. So anyway, I digress, but let's keep going. I'm just so proud of whoever wrote this. So it says, surround yourself with a supportive network, right? This is so important. You can have all the grit in the world, but if you're not set up in the right network, your grit's going to have you spinning in circles, and it's not your fault. It's got to change your circle. So it says, look for mentors, colleagues, and friends who understand your vision and have faced their own share of adversity. I'm going to say something here too. If you find yourself a part of a group organization and you are doing your best to be a part and to contribute and doing this, whether it's a business, ministry, different things like that, and you find that you've looked at like maybe after 3 years, 4 years, and you've looked back and you've not seen growth and you've not seen any progress, I would say it's time to change circles. Because I know one thing for sure. If you're like wanting to lead, wanting to be a part, if people want you to like be elevated and to be used and to do more for whether it's an organization or a church ministry or a business or whatever, they will help it happen. They will make sure that parameters are in place, things are set up so that you have the opportunity to grow. If you do not see growth, then that is a huge, like, just red flag. Like, that's a huge answer. Like, stop ignoring the energy, stop ignoring the red flags, stop ignoring the obvious, and then adjust. And it's a hard pill to swallow, but when you're trying to bounce back through grit, one thing you don't want to do is to reevaluate and then revisit those goals and whatever, and then set yourself up for a failure even more because you're in a place that does not want you to grow. It's like you're in a fishbowl. Like you can't grow beyond some of these places. People talk about, oh, can anything stop grit? Yes. That is one of those things that can stop grit. Having unjust, invisible barriers, having people that are just causing you to spin around in circles, that can stop grit. But you have to work around certain, atmospheres and things like that in order to continue to advance. Because if you continue to just do this number here, you're just spinning and spinning, you will burn out. And it's not your fault. You had a good intention and good heart. And this is specific for some of you out here. You're doing everything right and the door is just not opening, honey. You need to take that as a sign, a good sign, and say, thank you so much for everything. But I see the writing on the wall. No hard feelings. Whether there's one thing to push and to try hard and to have stick-to-itiveness, all this stuff, that works if the environment is set up for you to win. It's all about, are you set up to win? If you're not set up to win, it's going to take an act from the Almighty God, right? So that's why you have to be able to read your situation correctly. So get quiet. Don't assume, right? Don't assume. Get quiet. And then, look and see. If it's set up for success, keep trying. If not, start planning for the next thing and don't be so hard on yourself. Just know that, you did what you could, and you just got to keep moving forward. So, all right. So let's go back to this article. We're almost done. And colleagues, working with high performers have shown me the importance of a mutually supportive network. Yes. When we lean on each other for perspective, shared each other's successes, that part, and shared in each other's successes. How can you grow if no one is sharing your success, right? And then it says sharing experiences and learning from others can build resilience and serve as a reminder that you're not alone. That's good. And then the last one here, practice self-compassion to prevent burnout. Yes. So it says grit doesn't mean pushing yourself relentlessly without regard of your well-being. Self-compassion. Say self-compassion, everybody. So it says treating yourself with kindness during setbacks is so essential. Yes. For sustaining grit over the long term. You've got to learn to live with you. You got to learn to love you. How can you expect to pour out and give to everybody else and love everybody else and you don't even love yourself, right? That's not going to work. So it says self-compassion and acts as a buffer, enabling you to rest, regroup, and keep going without sacrificing your mental health. I don't know about you. I'm guilty about not having enough rest. I could use more rest. And then it says here, when setbacks happen, speak to yourself as you would a friend, with encouragement and understanding. Oh, I like that. Forgive yourself. Huge words. And we act like we don't need them sometimes in the business space, but we do. Forgive yourself for mistakes and recognize that perseverance requires rest and reflection as well as action. I found that this balance between self-compassion and grit can help prevent burnout and ultimately sustain your momentum, allowing you to face challenges with renewed strength. I like it. So with that said, yes, grit can lead to business success. Okay. It says, remember, grit isn't about just toughing it out, right? All these sayings we have. It says grit enables you to adapt, grow, and to stay committed to your goals, even in the face of repeated challenges. So I'm going to stop reading there. I absolutely loved that article read. That was from Forbes, and maybe that's why I loved it. 5 tips on developing grit for success. That was written. Oh, that was written today. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, awesome. They did a fabulous job. I probably should let them know I really enjoyed that. But anyway, so with that said, guys, listen, we're cutting into our time here. So thank you so much for joining me on the Grit and Equity Talks podcast with Dr. India White. I want to just make a couple of announcements and get us out of here. So first things first, the Grit and Equity Talks podcast, it will be featured on the X Factor EDU network hosted by Dr. Matthew, and it can be found on Spotify. Please check out my website, www.india-white.com, for books, blogs, or to schedule me for an event. Thank you to those people that have been reaching out to schedule me for conferences, PD workshops in your districts, and other things. I am seeing you and I'm getting to you. Thank you so much. Please follow me on social media when you get a chance. Facebook is Miss India White. LinkedIn is The India White. Twitter is Indy Speak and Teach. Instagram is Indy238. YouTube is India White 123. TikTok is Dr. India White. I'm super excited about this upcoming Grit conference, and I hope to see you ladies there. It is the Get Gritty for the New Year Women's Empowerment Conference. Please join us. This conference will be hosted on December 19th. December 19th, Mountain Time. I hope to see you guys there. Okay. And so with that said, guys, continue to walk and grit. I'm going to wrap it up there. And until next time, stay gritty. See ya.